Guess I better get out my agenda. There we go, right there. Oh, we're good to go.
Welcome. This is a meeting of the Board of Equalization for Weber County. This meeting is usually an annual type of a meeting, and we're glad the throngs of you who have chosen to be here today. The first consent item, item B, is a request for approval of the minutes for the meeting held on May 24th, 2022. I'll hear a motion now. At least I hope to hear a motion now.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the prior meeting.
Second.
Motion and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, great. Thank you. Those are approved. For our action items, the first request is approval for the 2022 tax relief program in Dakota. Worth, if you'll come on up, and appreciate that.
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Morning.
I'm just here as the deputy clerk for the Weber County Board of Equalization. I just wanted to report on the county's endeavors to equalize property values, issue tax exemptions, and property tax relief program benefits. I also just wanted to call this the county's endeavors because it takes a large concerted effort from everyone in the clerk's office and the assessor's office in order to organize, understand, and update these ever-changing programs. I'm grateful for Lynn, Roger, and Ricky for taking me under their wing as I've stepped into this role and shared their wisdom with me. I'm also grateful for Dee Dee, John, and all the people in the assessor's office who work in tandem with me to get through these BOE appeals and ensure that property valuations are properly adjusted and reviewed annually. As you know, in regards to tax relief, the state legislature allows that to be granted at the county level for a variety of reasons, including relief to veterans with a disability, the elderly with lower income, the indigent, blind individuals, and deployed military members. This year, Weber County approved a total of 4,837 applications, which is an increase of 171 applications over 2021, or 3.66%. This number breaks down per category as follows. Veterans with a disability make up 3,583 of those applications. Circuit breaker, predominantly elderly individuals, make up 989 of those applications. Indigent abatement applications make up 304. Blind applicants, 90, and deployed veterans for 2022 were 10. The total dollar amount of tax relief provided for property owners through all these programs was roughly $8,121,016.11. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them while I'm here on that matter. Otherwise, that list is ready for your action.
Great. Questions, commissioners, on this tax relief program?
None for me.
Great. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve the 2022 tax relief program is presented by Mr. Worth today.
Second?
Motion and second. We'll take that vote now. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Worth, go ahead.
Of course. And then moving on, I am providing some statistics for the BOE appeals for 2022. Weber County sent out 100,867 individual property valuation notices to property owners in July of last year. The total amount of appeals filed for 2022 totaled 1,731, which is 1.7% of the total notices that were mailed to property owners. 224 of those were not accepted for 2022, which is an equivalent of 12.9%, as they lacked evidence or were not timely appeals. The amount that were accepted were 1,507, which is 87% of the appeals that were filed for 2022. No adjustments were made on 596 of those, which is 39.5% of all accepted appeals. Adjustments were made on 911, which totals 60.5% of accepted appeals. In total, we also processed 1,049 journal vouchers, with 576 of those being value adjustments and 473 being direct charge adjustments, which are tax relief adjustments made after the September 1st cutoff. Oh, sorry, those are included on the tax relief report. If you have any questions, again, I'm happy to answer those. Otherwise, that list is also ready for your action.
Commissioners, questions for Mr. Worth this morning? Hearing none, entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2022 property tax valuation appeals and journal vouchers.
Been motioned.
Second?
Second. To place that item for vote now. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries and passed unanimously. Well, Mr. Worth, now item number 3 is the approval of the 2023 property tax exemption applications. Go ahead.
Wonderful. So historically, our exempt organization filings have stayed steady over the past few years. This last year, only 2 new organizations had applied for exempt status. 5 organizations discontinued their operations in 2023. Together, that brings us to a current total of 168 active exempt organizations in Weber County. These organizations break down as follows: 80 of which are religious organizations, 7 are educational, and 81 are charitable in their operations. We sincerely appreciate the work that these organizations do to help build our communities and lift up our citizens. But overall, it was a pretty uneventful exemption year.
Very good questions about the current exemption applications for 2023, Commissioners. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the property tax exemption applications as presented.
Second?
Motion and seconded. Any other questions or anything else you wanted to say, Mr. Worth?
That concludes my presentation, but I'm happy to field any questions that you guys might have.
Hearing no other questions, we'll go ahead and place that item for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys.
See, that wasn't so bad. Your
No,
first
yeah.
time, it went a lot better than you
Yeah,
told
not
it
too
would,
rough
didn't
at
it?
all.
Thank you.
That's great. Public comments. Roger, you coming up?
Of course not.
Okay.
Dakota's done a phenomenal job.
Great.
No, I was
Lynn, go ahead.
pretty much going to say what Roger
State your
said.
name and the city where
So
you're from.
Lynn Taylor from Hooper. So working with Dakota, Dakota came in late last year to replace April Hatfield, as you know, and he's just done a phenomenal job. And I'd like to echo still Roger Brunker is, as always, just the bedrock of getting everything done and running. He's just knowledgeable and always willing to help with that. And then I'll also echo with the assessor's office, the treasurer's office. It's a huge effort throughout the county, but I mostly just wanted to recognize Dakota and the fantastic job he's done. He came in right in the middle of appeal season and just dove in head first and has done phenomenal.
That's a great job. Wonderful. You know, it goes a lot of times unappreciated, but you heard the number of people who are on fixed incomes and military veterans with disabilities. And the number of people that are helped, it was excess of $8 million. That's a great service, I think, that this county offers to the people who have specific situations. And thank you for making that happen, facilitating that. Under the law and under statute, and Roger, again, you're an institution here. It's so good. You're very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. It's great. I just sit back and let them do it all day.
Sorry, one more that I was remiss to mention. So we, as the county's been growing, we've shifted the structure a bit. And one of the new things that we tried out is we now have a dedicated tax relief section that handles the tax relief applications, and that has worked out really well. This last year we had all of the applications through and approved sooner than any of the other 10 years I've been here. And that's largely due to Camille Chamberlain, who's our tax relief specialist, who's a dedicated now expert in that. And then also her supervisor, Andy McRae. The two of them together have just been on a lot of heavy lifting, serving the citizens of Weber County with the tax relief programs.
Great. Thank you. Commissioners, any questions before we adjourn?
Comment if I could.
Please.
So thank you, Mr. Chair. So I just want to give thanks to Clerk Auditor Lynn Dakota. Obviously, this is great information. I like the way it's tabulated. You know, these exemptions need to go to the people that deserve them. And obviously, the work went into this with, what do we see here, 4,800 and some odd people in our county that actually benefited from these exemptions that are allowed under state law. So again, I just appreciate the work that you guys do to make sure that the people that deserve it receive it. The people that don't deserve it obviously are flushed out. So, because we know that not everybody gets really excited about paying property tax. So,
Is there anybody?
in case you haven't noticed, yeah.
You said not everybody.
Not everybody.
Is there anybody?
Oh, yeah, there's a few that really love paying property tax. Not anybody I know right off the top.
No. You know, I would love to be able to pay $1 million in property tax.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 million.
10 million, yeah.
Mean something else, so that'd be okay.
I agree. Okay.
Nothing else, Commissioner Bullis, any? I'll entertain a motion at item E.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we're adjourned.
Good morning. I'd like to welcome those in the commission chambers as well as those online. This is Tuesday, May 16th. It is 10 a.m. This is the weekly meeting of the Board of Commissioners of Weber County. I'm Commissioner Gage Farrar. I'll be conducting this morning. With me to my left is Commissioner Sharon Bolos. To my right, Commissioner Jim Harvey. We're going to start the meeting this morning with a Pledge of Allegiance given by Charlie Ewert. The invocation will be given by Commissioner Bolos, since Bill Kobe's not here, and thought of the day, Commissioner Harvey. And we'll go to public comments. Charlie?
Please rise with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we come before thee at this time, grateful for the opportunity that we have to gather as citizens and employees of this great county. We're thankful for all that we enjoy here, and the beautiful place that we have to live and work. We're thankful for the blessings that we enjoy here in this nation, for the opportunity that we have to be free and to govern ourselves. And we pray that the Spirit will lead us as we make decisions this day in the best interest of those who live here and work here. We ask for thy guidance in all that we do, and we pray for those who serve to protect us, our first responders, and those who serve in our military. We are grateful for their sacrifices in our behalf and ask thee to watch over them and their families. This we say in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Commissioner Harvey?
I tend to be, as you well know, and have actually commented, a little lengthy in my thoughts. But there's a couple of things that have reminded me recently, is quite frankly, and I'm going to be a little personal, but yesterday as we listened to Gary Myers give a report on all of the things that are happening with regards to flooding and the water coming down, especially in the Ogden Upper Valley, but I certainly don't want to dismiss what's happening on the lower Weber River out beyond Plain City. It was more not what he said, but it was more the look in his eyes. Our guys are tired, and they've done a phenomenal job, and they continue to serve and serve and serve and serve. And it's just, for me, I'm very grateful for the fantastic people that we have in this county that do good for so many, and many of those are unknowing. Our staff serves, and many of the people this county have no idea what's happening at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning while they're resting, and their homes now won't flood or doing something else because of the work. And trust me, with the amount of water that's still there and still to come, it's incredibly daunting, but I'm just very appreciative and thankful to him. Reminds me of a saying that I've got from Mahatma Gandhi that said, an ounce of practice, and by the way, our guys have been putting in pounds or tons of practice, but an ounce of practice is worth more than a ton of preaching. I thought that was pretty good. But again, just wanted to thank them for their works. And that's what I have got for us today, Mr. Chair.
Very appropriate. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go to our next agenda item, which is public comments. Anyone in the chamber that would like to come forward to address the commission, now is your opportunity. We'd ask you to keep it to 3 minutes and address those issues related to the agenda items. Or online. Shelley, anybody online? Okay, not seeing anybody rush the mic. Let's move on. Let's go to our consent items, commissioners, which would be agenda item F. We'll start with a request for approval of warrants 7976 through 8025 and 476 367 through 476 537, and number 265 in the amount of $1,365,895.95. 2, request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $106,295.12. And 3, summary of warrants and purchase orders, which I'll go to Mr. Ricky Hatch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We issued 13 purchase orders this week for $106,000. 29% of that amount, or $30,000, is for the jail, and that is for the mobile kitchen rental during the renovation. 22%, or $23,000, is for the health department, which was mostly vaccines, but also some software licenses. 14%, or $15,000, is for the transfer station to go towards scale parts and service. And then we had 3 for 9% of the total, or $10,000 each. Roads for snowplow blades, the shooting range for electrical repairs, and then the Golden Spike Event Center for food supplies. As far as checks, we issued 222 warrants this week for $1.4 million. 29%, or $390,000, were ARPA funds, and the bulk of those went to Uinta City for this payment. 28%, or $379,000, is for the jail roof, the conference center remodel, and the Pineview Recreation Sites redesign. 9%, or $127,000, was for the library to purchase computer equipment, books and materials, and some building maintenance. And then lastly, 7%, or $96,000, was for the jail to purchase food, medical and mental health services, and utilities.
Great, thank you for that. Questions, commissioners, for Mr. Hatch? Thanks, Ricky, appreciate it. Let's go to agenda item F4, request for approval of ACH payments to Zions Bank in the amount of $106,858.62. 5, request for approval of minutes for the meetings held on May 2nd, 2023. 5, request for approval, well, that'd be number 6, I've got 2 5s here. Approval of new business licenses. 6, request for approval of new beer licenses. 7, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Wasatch Pony Club for the Great American Pumpkin event to be held at the Golden Spike Event Center. 8, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and the Wasatch Pony Club to hold the Spring Chicken event at the Golden Spike Event Center. 9, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and the Wasatch Pony Club to hold the Golden Spike trials, horse trials, at the Golden Spike Event Center. 10, request for approval of a retirement agreement by and between Weber County and Kenneth Rose. I believe that's the consent items that I have. Commissioners, any questions, comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair, that we approve those consent items 1 through 10 as read today.
Thank you.
Second?
And we have a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Consent items are approved as read. Let's go to our public hearings under H on the agenda. I would look for a motion to adjourn this public meeting and reconvene as a public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're now in a public hearing. Let me make an announcement that the 2 items listed under H, 2 and 3, will be held for a future meeting. So we're going to start with agenda item H4, public hearing to discuss and or take action on ordinance that will amend the form-based village zone along with other sections of the Weber County Land Use Code to add provisions that implement a West Weber Village Area Street Regulating Plan and provide related clerical edits and policy adjustments deemed necessary by the Western Weber Planning Commission and also the Ogden Valley Planning Commission. Mr. Charlie Ewert is here to present. Charlie, go ahead.
Commissioners, I appreciate the time. You could see from the packet how thick it is, that there's been a lot of work that's gone on over the last few months. Both planning commissions have taken part in this. Just given the length of the packet and how much there is to review, I put together a consolidated slideshow, only about 325 slides, so bear with me here. I'm just kidding. I actually don't have much of a presentation for you guys. I've given you guys all the information I think you need in that packet. I will give a shout out to both planning commissions. They've both worked really hard on this. This was a little bit harder, I think, for the Ogden Valley, both of these ordinances, to wrap their head around, because both of them pertain to Western Weber. And you keep on saying, why are we dealing with things that pertain to Western Weber? And the fact is we have one ordinance, and that changes to that one ordinance can tend to affect both sides. So the Ogden Valley, actually, planning commission, they warmed up to the idea and started making some of their own desired changes in the form-based code. So most of what you see in the form-based code in front of you is actually based off of what the Ogden Valley wanted. And then the Western Weber, they said, you know what, we need a form-based code, so let's start somewhere. And so they just took the recommendations from the Ogden Valley and ran with them. So that's the presentation I have for you guys on form-based. Any questions about what you read?
Thank you, Charlie. So just so we're clear, both planning commissions, Upper and Lower Valley planning commissions, approved this
That's right.
that we're talking about right now?
Yes, both of them have.
Okay. Questions, commissioners?
Wow.
Oh, just wait till the next one.
And Charlie, so this has been going on for some time. This isn't new.
No. No, this is actually, we're working on implementing the Western Weber General Plan. And the Western Weber General Plan calls for village centers. The very first one for us to work on is the West Weber Village, as the Planning Commission has termed it. And so in the ordinance, you'll see the street regulating plan, very similar to the street regulating plans we have for the Ogden Valley. So you'll see the street regulating plan for the intersection of 12th Street and 4700 West. And actually the primary core of that village is actually 900 South and 4700 West, with 12th Street being a vehicle-oriented commercial street.
Good.
We'll probably have more villages out west coming to you guys shortly, but this is the one we wanted to start with.
So that's really the first village we have out west.
That's right. Well, as soon as you've adopted it, and then after it's adopted, it's going to require people to zone to it. And so as landowners come and ask for the rezone to go to the form base, then you'll see a lot more of those.
So we have the tools in place. Now we just wait for anybody that has the ability to come in that owns ground to ask for the rezone under that form-based code.
That's right. And as you guys know, there are a couple of commercially zoned properties out there. At some point, it may be beneficial for the county commission just to consider rezoning those to the form base. Similar to we've discussed in the Eden area, all the CV2 and CV1 properties, it might be beneficial to just pull the Band-Aid off and rezone them to form base so that we can uniformly apply the code, but that's not what we're asking for right now.
Great. Okay, does that conclude your presentation on H4?
It does. Do I have any more time in my 3 minutes?
You did great.
He didn't set the clock.
All right, you're still up there, Charlie. So let's go to public hearing to discuss and/or take action on an ordinance that will amend the Weber County Code to provide zones, regulations, permissions, and restrictions that will help implement the Western Weber General Plan as it generally relates to the residential zoning and residential development, and provide related clerical edits, policy adjustments deemed necessary by the Western Weber Planning Commission and the Ogden Valley Planning Commission. Go ahead for that.
Thank you. So this one's actually not quite as fun, but definitely more critical. So the last one had a lot more pictures to flip through as you were looking through your packet. This one's just a lot more text. So part of the Western Weber General Plan talks about rezoning properties to 15,000 square foot lot sizes, or an average of 15,000 square foot lot sizes, as long as smart development strategies, smart growth strategies have been implemented. So what this ordinance does is it actually creates a 15,000 square foot zone that is not a zone that is super friendly to big farm animals. So right now we've got a 15,000 square foot zone that's the RE15, Residential Estate 15 zone, and you can have horses or livestock in small amounts in those zones. We're trying to go for a little bit more of a residential zone, and so less livestock essentially is what this zone is going for. Now, we're just creating the RE15 zone in this case. We'd still have to rezone properties to the RE15 zone. So, and I know we've got a few in the queue that you guys have kind of been looking at. And so this will kind of help resolve a lot of the challenges that we're seeing with rezoning to those zones. In fact, most of the rezones that you've seen, we could probably just, instead of going to the RE15 zone with a development agreement, we could probably get rid of the development agreement and just go with what the ordinance says at this point. But that'll be for you guys to determine in a future meeting. So this one sets up that zone. It also sets up street and pathway connectivity standards that will essentially run with the zone. Instead of a mandatory requirement, what it does is it allows, if you're going to get flexibility in lot sizes, as small as 6,000 square feet, but no more than one dwelling unit per 15,000 square foot density. If you're going to get that kind of flexibility, then you have to provide street connections and pathway connections where the planners, the Planning Commission, and County Commission feel like is most appropriate in your development. If you don't choose to go with a street connectivity and pathway connectivity development, then you could still potentially, if you're already rezoned to the RE15, you could just do straight 15,000 square foot across the board, and then just have the normal typical block standards that the county's already adopted. But none of that would apply until we rezone properties too. And so if you guys are concerned about any developer not using the street connectivity or pathway connectivity incentive, that can always be mandatorily required through that rezone. So we could always say to a developer, you know what, we don't like the potential layout, we would rather you come back to us with a street design and a pathway design that shows those connections, and then through the rezone and a really small development agreement, we could say that's the pattern that you're going to follow. So it also goes through a number of other sections of code to just provide some updates and clarifications. We try to consolidate a little bit so that it's a little easier to read and get through. The new zone actually follows the same conventions as a number of the recent zones that we've changed or modified, including like the A1 zone, the C zones, the manufacturing zones, where we're taking all those uses, we're consolidating them into a use table that's a little bit easier to use and administer. So we were able to do that with this particular ordinance. Any particular questions for me?
Questions for Mr. Ewert? So I would just say, Charlie, thanks to you, Planning Commission, Director Grover. This has been a big lift from a lot of different people, but I think it's a necessary lift as we look at these regulations we now have that give the ability for affordable housing that we get talked about and told about every day of our lives about. Our kids and grandkids would love to make Weber County a place to live and work, and this gives the ability to have some type of affordable housing out there, at the same time have the infrastructure in place, the connectivity of these roads. Somebody once said, good infrastructure makes good development, and I think that gives us the ability under these code changes to make that happen.
I appreciate that. And you're right, this has been a heavy lift, and it's definitely been a team effort, including you guys on that list. You guys have put this at the top of your priority list, and wanted to make sure this was done as quickly and expeditiously as we could. A couple things to take note of on the street connectivity. Regarding street right-of-way widths and frequency of connections, you could never go wrong with too many. There's no such thing as too many in these cases, because you don't know what's going to happen 100 years from now. You could have any one of these potential residential areas become a really cool commercial center 100 years from now. We don't know where our minds are going to be or where technology is going to be, and so the better connections you have, the better off you are, because opportunities are wide open for a lot of options for landowners to come. So something to think about. Also, I wanted to make sure I mentioned there were two items that may need to be tweaked a little bit. One of them, probably fairly simple. One of the very last paragraphs of the proposed ordinance talks about the Dark Sky Committee, and that's actually more relevant for the Ogden Valley right now. And one thing that it says is that part of that committee will be someone from Ogden, Visit Ogden, or it also says, or other similar tourism bureau. And Visit Ogden has mentioned maybe we should delete other similar tourism bureau. As the county's tourism bureau, I think they would like to kind of keep that under their task. And then the other thing that we talked about in work session on this that had a little bit of sticking point was the 300-foot river buffer. So setbacks within 300 feet of the river. I just wanted to make sure I brought that up so you guys can think that through.
Yeah, and the 300 feet is in this, right?
It is in this. It's listed as 300 right now. Yeah, if you'd like me to change it, I'm more than happy to.
I think that was what we talked about over making sure that buffer existed. So, no, I think that's exactly what what we expected.
Okay, very good. Any other questions for me?
Questions?
No questions.
Thank you, Charlie. Is that
Thank
it?
you. That's it.
All right, now's the time to go to public comments. Anyone in the chamber like to come up and address the commission on these two items? Now's your opportunity. Seeing none, anyone online? Oh, a lot of interest in this today.
Yeah, that's,
Oh, there is a hand up. Hold on. Jim?
Thank you. My name's James Bird from Huntsville, Utah.
Go
Can you
ahead.
hear me? Sorry, I'm overcoming COVID. First of all, I'd like to thank the amount of time that Charlie and the Ogden Valley Planning Commission has put into this whole notion of form-based development. And it did tell me that it was a very confusing situation. I participated in over 10 hours in the last couple of months and watching Zoom or actually being there. So it became a very, for me, convoluted. I was having trouble following all the amendments. So my question is basically, did the village form-based definition get changed just to form-based? And if so, are they now using form-based to be applied really anywhere they want to in the Ogden Valley area? And let me give you an example. Yesterday at your meeting, the commission's meeting, you talked about application of converting a AV3 site on 22.94 acres to a form-based. This is really not adjacent to any kind of village area. In looking into it, it sounds like this allows the property owner then to have a form base, although he only wants 1 acre houses. So it could be a FR1 rezoning. The question to me is this: will the definition then allow this particular owner to sell TDRs, because you can build a lot more units on a form base than you can on an FR1, so they can transfer TDRs to elsewhere? Again, I guess for clarification, are form bases just going to be applied to any kind of agriculture area, or are they still going to be limited to a village concept? Thank you.
Charlie, do you want to answer that? Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, happy to. So form-based is just a different way of regulating land uses. It's very much like what we currently have in terms of ordinances. So you got the AV3 zone, 1 unit to 3 acres. You got, like Jim mentioned, the FR1 zone, 1 unit to 1 acre. Form-based is just a different way of doing it. And so the particular ones that he's mentioning it's just on the edge of the Old Town Eden area, which you guys talked about in yesterday's meeting. And there's one that is in the Old Town Eden area. You could fill the entire valley floor up with form-based zoning and still get a rural community. In fact, you don't have to use form-based for villages at all. You can use them all for rural areas. It's just a tool or mechanism. What's written in the form-based code, that's where the rubber hits the road. So that particular area where you're looking at the potential of rezoning 1 unit to 1 acre, after they move density from another property into that property, that area is only allowed to go up to 1 acre, similar to the FR1 zone. It's just written differently. It's called the rural residential in that particular area. It could be, you could use form-based in the middle of the agrarian area west of Huntsville and just call it the estate lot residential, which is 1 unit per 3 acres. So it still does the same thing effectively. It just does it a little bit more efficiently and with less cumbersome, I would say, clunkiness of typical Euclidean zoning. Euclidean zoning just tends to blow up really big, really fast. Euclidean zoning is the type of zoning you currently have, other than the form-based. It tends to balloon as far as regulations go pretty quickly, whereas form-based, you could use that one chapter for the entire county if you wanted to. You just have to make sure you design your street regulating plan to govern that.
Good. So really, it's just another way of getting there. And to use Mr. Bird's example, somebody, the developer or that could come in and apply for a 1 acre zone, assuming he has the density to transfer in, he could go that way, or under the form base, then we just have a little more control and say, but the end result would be the same for the property owner.
That's right. And in form-based, we've already decided, generally speaking, where the roads are going to go, where those street connections
Right.
are going to go. And so a lot of the unknowns that come in Euclidean zoning, where those could go wherever, as long as it meets the minimum standards of the regulations, we don't get a say where the roads go in those particular cases. Here, we do have a little bit more control because we have that street regulating plan.
Yeah, so because of that street regulating plan that we have under the form-based, it probably gives us a better view of regulation and street layout for the future that we wouldn't typically have under, say, a rezoned FR1.
That's exactly right. As far as public amenities and public improvements go, we're going to have a lot better understanding under form base on that infrastructure. There was another thing I was going to mention. Escaped my mind, sorry.
Okay, makes sense. Thanks,
Okay.
Charlie.
No problem.
Okay, questions, commissioners?
No.
Anyone else online, Shelley?
Ron Gleason.
Okay, Ron, go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is Ron Gleason
Morning.
of Eden, Utah. I had a quick question, and it's probably for Charlie. It has to do with the creation of the Dark Sky Committee. And again, I was not able to attend the Planning Commission meeting when this was discussed, and I would have asked this then. When the changes to this paragraph were originally submitted, and this pertains to the Ogden Valley, the two Ogden Valley businesses, the wording was to change it to two Ogden Valley businesses in the unincorporated part of the county. And I'm curious why the wording of unincorporated part of the county was taken out. The reason for the specific wording was that the town of Huntsville has their own ordinances, and they have not adopted any dark sky, or excuse me, any lighting ordinance that pertain to dark skies. So the intent of the wording was to have business owners within the valley in the unincorporated area, but not the town of Huntsville. So I'm wondering if Charlie could shed some light on as to why the wording was changed in the way that it is now. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Can you address that, Charlie? I know we've had some discussions on this, but.
I sure can. Yeah, and that omission of that language was unintentional. I think the intention was that these would be unincorporated area business owners. If you would like, I could make that amendment before you sign it. If you're comfortable with taking action on it, I can make that amendment very briefly before.
Yeah, I think the intent all the way along has been to use unincorporated, and I agree with Mr. Gleason that even though it probably wouldn't come up, that we should probably clarify that.
Yeah.
Because that makes sense to have somebody represents unincorporated.
Yeah,
I agree with that, too.
You okay with that?
I do.
Sounds like you got the go-ahead,
I'll
Charlie.
make that adjustment.
Ron, thanks for bringing that up. Appreciate it. We'll get that fixed for you. Okay, anyone else? Shelley? Thank you. Thank you for those online that taking the time to ask the questions. Let's go now to agenda item 7, which would be a request to, or motion to adjourn public hearings and reconvene as a public meeting.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We're now on action for our public hearings. Let's start with H2, which would be a request for approval of a resolution regarding file number GPA 2022-01 on applicant-initiated request to amend the Western Weber, wait, hold on. Yeah, sorry. Take that back. We're going to H4. H2 and H3 were
Hold.
on hold. So let's go to H4. Request for approval of an ordinance that will amend the form-based village zone along with other sections of the Weber County Land Use Code to add provisions that implement a West Weber Village Area Street Regulating Plan and provide related clerical edits and policy adjustments deemed necessary by the Western Weber Planning Commission and the Ogden Valley Planning Commission. That'd be H4, just for clarifications, Commissioners.
Move to approve ordinance 2023-09.
We have a motion,
Second?
and we have a second. Roll call vote.
Roll call vote for ordinance 2023-09. Commissioner Bolos.
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey.
Aye.
Chair Four.
Aye, thank you very much. Okay, let's go now to H5, which is request for approval of an ordinance that will amend the Weber County Code to provide zones, regulations, permissions, and restrictions that will help implement the Western Weber General Plan as it generally relates to residential zoning and residential development, and provide related clerical edits and policy adjustments deemed necessary by the Western Weber Planning Commission and the Ogden Valley Planning Commission.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
motion to approve ordinance 2023-10 with the changes or corrections that was talked about as it relates to the dark skies.
Thank you. I think that's noted.
Second?
And a second. Roll call vote.
Roll call vote for ordinance 2023-10. Commissioner Bolos?
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey?
Aye.
Chair Four.
Aye, thank you. Motion carries. Those two have been approved, Charlie. Thanks again for the hard work. Let's now go to Commissioner comments, and we also have a Stall of Fame recipient that we'll be presenting today, Commissioners. So if it's okay, we're going to start with the Stall of Fame Stall of Fame presentation, and I believe that that recipient happens to be with us this morning. Miss Brooke Stewart, would you please come up this way? I want to give congratulations to Brooke. Well-deserved recipient. She runs the transportation subcommittee for WACOG, and for this county does an excellent job. Appreciate all your work in a lot of other areas as well, Brooke, and what a valued asset you are for Weber County. Commissioners, comments?
Brooke's done a phenomenal job, and she's created really a position that was much needed in the county and made it her own. She has great confidence from the folks at WFRC and from the other people who sit on the WACOG, the mayors, and we just thank you for your contribution to Weber County. This is well earned, and we appreciate you, Brooke.
Thank you.
Well deserved. John, did you want to say anything?
I think so.
Thank you. We told Brooke we wanted to embarrass her, so no, we won't do that. It's hard to embarrass someone that is as professional and amazing as Brooke is. So, Commissioner Harvey, to what you've said, she has earned the respect of WFRC, WACOG, UDOT, and everyone else that she works with in that transportation field. She has absolutely commanded everyone's respect and has done a phenomenal job building that program that we have through WACOG. So in addition to that, she has helped out with the CARES Act funding and also with ARPA that is ongoing right now, and has played an integral role in making those programs successful. Brooke is the model employee. She's always happy, willing to do whatever is asked of her, and is always responsive. And if we could have all of our employees be like Brooke, it would be amazing. So everyone else is good. I'm not saying anything like that, but Brooke sets a standard for what a model employee should be. So if that's embarrassing enough, there you go. But we are so glad to have Brooke on our staff here at Weber County.
Very lucky indeed, and I'd second what you said. You know, everybody knows the work that she's put forth in transportation with the WFRC, WACOG, and working with the commissioners and mayors on that subcommittee. It's kind of like herding cats with that committee. She does a great job with that. But her work with CARES Act that goes back a couple of years, and ARPA, just going through those applications, making sure, again, those dollars went to the right spot. She's an expert in that, so appreciate your work. So with that, commissioners?
Should we have her say something, maybe?
No,
Limit her
I was just
comments to
saying thank
15
you.
minutes?
Yeah, let's keep you to 20 minutes.
Yes, I've prepared a speech. No, I'm just super grateful. I'm super grateful for your leadership. I'm very blessed to have the best administration and bosses there are, and coworkers. We have a great, phenomenal team here, and I just really, truly appreciate all the opportunities I've been given over my career here with the county, and all the friendships we've built and all the amazing people we get to work with. So thank you all.
Great.
Thanks,
How long
Brooke.
have you been with the county, Brooke?
23 years.
Wow. Okay, great. Great work. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Okay, now's the time for the picture. And the Stall of Fame. Congratulations. Enjoy that spot.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. One more. Okay, thank you.
All right, commissioners, back to commissioner comments. Anything or? Going once? Going twice?
I thought you were going to take a second chance.
No, good. No, you're
No,
good.
just watching Brooke and the support and the standing ovation she gets from her coworkers just is a testament to what we have here in Weber County. Great people.
It's great to see. Yep, it really is. Commissioner Harvey, last words.
Motion to adjourn.
Wow,
Second.
okay. We have a motion, non-debatable.
Second.
A second, all those in favor, please
Aye.
say aye.
Aye.
Aye, we're adjourned. Thank you very much.